Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Winterpeg Report. I am your host, Mark Adam, and I am going to be joined by a special guest today, Pamela Roz, who's a PR and marketing person. Also, you might recognize her voice from several different radio stations around town, and we're going to get into all that. But first, I just want to let you know you can follow us on all the social medias. So that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. There's still nothing on there yet, content-wise. However, we're getting there, and I promise that as soon as I figure out what their algorithm is all about, we'll get in there and we'll go pretty hard. So all of that stuff is at or / the WPG magazine. It's the same across the board. So try to make it easy for you. Yeah. That's it. Let's see if you want to give us a call. You can 431-800-4555. You can call, leave a voice message, or you can text us and give us your thoughts on the guests we've had on, how terrible they were. No, I'm just kidding. But you can also email podcasts at thewpg.ca. If you are looking to advertise on the podcast, you can also do that. 431-489-2401 is the number to call, or you can email ads at thewpg.ca. And that goes whether you want to advertise here on the podcast itself, the Winterpeg Report, or any of the other content that we create here at the WPG magazine, or if you want to advertise directly on the WPG.ca. That's basically it. Yeah, we did all the things. Perfect. Now we can jump to our guest. Our guest is waiting in the wings. This is Pamela Roz, a publicity and social media marketer, as well as a radio broadcaster. And I just want to welcome you to the podcast today. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? I liked your little spiel to start things off.
Hey, if you're going to tell people to follow you and stuff, you better make it halfway entertaining. Otherwise, follow us on all the social. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Just halfway, though. No more than halfway.
Yeah. Yeah. Halfway entertaining. If I go more than that, then the people are just like, oh, this guy.
It's stalking.
There's a sweet spot, and I'm looking for it. I haven't found it yet, but I'm looking for it. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. Hey, if you wanna let us know on all our social media. No, I'm just kidding. I'm happy to have a guest on. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about you and the cool stuff you do right here in Winnipeg. And first of all, how are you doing today? The weather outside is,
right. No, wrong
yeah.
Time of year. I'm good. I'm having, to be honest, by about this time of the day, if I'm still drinking coffee, there's a little bit of Bailey's in it because that's how I like to end my work day. And I can do that because I'm at home and I really only go outside to feed the birds and the squirrel that I take care of. Yep, that's me now.
Whatever works. Works.
Yeah.
I respect that. It's one of those things where my girlfriend has adopted the neighborhood cat. The cat comes to the door and she just hangs out and feeds it. And that's the thing you do now because that's the only social interaction you get. So make it count, I suppose.
And here's the thing is social interaction is sort of less frowned upon now, but we're so used to not social interacting that it's a big choice to actually do that again.
I know. And let me tell you,
sad?
As an extrovert, it has been very difficult for me over the last 2 years, just being stuck inside and basically dying. So I'm looking so forward to the reduction in restrictions because I like to follow the guidelines as best I can. And I really think that the restrictions either open it up or lock it all down. Just pick one. Enough of the halfway there, halfway not. There's a time for looking for the sweet spot, and then there isn't. It's either do something about it or stop doing things about it.
There's a reason why so many people don't like doing the limbo, because it hurts your back. But in this case, it hurts our brains. Yes. Right? Am I the only one who doesn't like the limbo because it hurts my back?
No, you, myself, and every other old person on the planet. We're not. We had a conversation just before about what the kids are saying these days, and we never did actually come out with what they're actually saying. So that should tell you, the listener, something about us.
Yeah, I say we bring back gnarly. Do they say like bring back like gnarly, outrageous,
radical,
tubular? I mean, I think that we were both not old enough to even use those words when they were popular, but we could do it now.
I think radical made a resurgence in the 90s, but yeah, I think that like totally radical, like that was a big thing. But and being a child from the early 80s, it's wonderful when those things come back. Apparently the 70s are coming back. My girlfriend's really upset about the amount of bell bottoms that she's seeing in stores these days. So that's a thing, I guess. I don't know. But let's talk about you. Okay. You're here. You're the guest. Let's talk about why you're here. And you do a lot of public relations work. Pamela Roz, your initials are PR. I just feel like that was destiny. How did you get into the public relations game to start with?
Well, I took journalism in college, journalism and radio. So when we would take journalism, our RJ teachers would always call PR the dark side because, in theory, you make more money than a journalist, but these days everything's up and down in all these areas. But it was actually, I had been laid off from one of my radio gigs and started out with someone to do some radio tracking, which is, sending artists music to radio stations and getting them to play it basically. And then started out slowly with publicity that way, and then radio on and off and on and off over the years. And then more recently, it's been more publicity, mostly for local bands and artists and theater groups. And then I also work with a company called Elroy Consulting, myself and another woman, Lynn, who started the company. So I help her with her clients of all sorts. We have a construction company, we have a hot sauce company, we have a wellness farm. I do the social media for a pig that lives on the farm. So social media content creation, scheduling. I love your eyes there. His name is Wilbert the pig. You can follow him on Instagram. But in a nutshell, social media marketing, content creation, copywriting.
Well, tell us his handle.
Oh, at Wilbert the pig. This is terrible of me. Just look up Wilbert the Lil Pig and you'll find him. He's the best.
That's amazing.
But in a nutshell, it's like all the marketing things. I still do some journalism stuff in there. And it's just a big combination of all the things learned over the years. It's kind of crazy.
That's sort of, your journalism took you into that direction. How did you, because you're also a voice on the radio. Was that connected to your journalism stuff, or was that kind of your goal, or did that happen by accident? What's going on there?
Yeah, no, I feel like I always listened to the radio growing up. It was just what we did, right? We recorded our favorite songs off the radio. We had favorite announcers. And I think I just admired and sort of just loved that they could talk about music and talk about their interests and play music. That was one of the biggest things. So when I went to Creecom at Red River, I was on the now defunct Kick FM. So that started it all. And then as a major, I was in journalism. So I feel like I always loved writing, but the entertainment aspect always overpowered that. So being able to talk about entertainment and talk about music, radio has been my number one for 15 years. And it's a very tumultuous, I don't know if that's the right word. It's a roller coaster of an industry at times. You sort of have to find other skills off air in case the inevitable happens and you get laid off or you decide to leave a station. And I kind of just filled it all in from there. It's pretty wacky when I think about, the radio side of things, and there is the journalism where I write some articles and do some interviewing, and then the PR side as well, and how it all kind of works together. And it's funny because you called yourself an extrovert earlier, and I'm pretty well an introvert, but all of my jobs and all my activities are quite extroverted and talking to a lot of people. So I think I find a good balance in all of that.
Wow, that's healthy to find a balance. I myself have a couple of times during this pandemic found myself so burnt out because I'm just trying everything to survive. And you overload yourself, and balance isn't something you think about until it's something that you should have been looking at months ago,
Until it's punching you in the face and telling you to take a nap.
That,
right?
That, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yes, I that is exactly the thought. So, how, has your introvertedness kind of helped you maintain that balance?
Yeah,
for me, I just want to do all the things all the time.
Mm-hmm. No, I like the idea of doing all the things all the time. But then I really do like being at home. So this whole time, I have been employed in one way or another. I feel so lucky. My husband and I say this all the time. We've both been employed. I've, a couple part-time jobs. He's full-time here, and it's been very lucky that way. And then it's so funny because now that things are opening and I can go to a coffee shop to work, I now use the excuse of like, well, it's -40 out and I can work from home still. So why not just do that? So
yeah.
It's helped me to stay motivated in terms of, there was some time during the past 2 years that I was like, what am I going to do with my life? But then you have to stop and think, you like really can't make a huge change right now. This is where we are. And I think, is it possible to get too comfortable working from home and just never want to leave? Or
I don't think so, but
okay, then I'm good.
Yeah, I like working from home. I loved working in the service industry, but I retired from that in 2020.
Yeah.
I had done it for like 20 something years, and I think 2 decades was enough.
Oh yeah.
And now that I'm working from home, I extra miss people, because in the service industry, I saw people every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I say all my jobs and activities are extroverted, but radio really is, imagining the listener, right? I was alone in the booth, and you kind of have to imagine that conversation you're having with someone. Same with PR, I it's mostly email and on the phone at this point. And I do theater and I do other things in my extracurriculars. So that's obviously around more people. But again, over the last 2 years, it has not been. So it's been I love that things are coming back. I like the options of going somewhere, but I have not tired of, having my own schedule at home.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting to me, and you mentioned theater specifically, because I've done a lot of theater in my day, and the bulk of the people that I have done theater with have been on the introverted side.
Totally. Yeah.
Which
it forces you, and I've said that too about theater, being mostly an introvert on stage, you can become extroverted because you are playing a role and you are saying the words of someone else or singing the song of someone else. And and then you go home and you're so tired because you've exerted all that energy on the stage. And it's something, I know, so many theater people that have now go into more film and TV work, obviously, because that has kept going throughout the past 2 years. But the stage is something else. It's just a different feeling of live in the moment. You feed off the crowd. You have to hunker down and learn the lines and learn the music. And I think
you have to do it over and over and over again.
But it isn't no show is ever the same at the same time. Yeah. So it's I think of all the things I've missed, it's doing theater. It's just I have moments of such sadness because it is coming back. I'm not even knocking on wood because I truly believe that this is a turning point for especially theater and the arts to make a comeback. And we're going to put our butts in seats for Fringe Festival. I know it's months away, but I'm just we're going to be in the audience.
You're priming yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
This is happening.
This is happening.
Yeah. And, as an extrovert, when I go to the theater, it's the same level of energy for me that I'm putting out and getting back as if I go to a house party.
Yeah.
But for introverts, it's a lot more focused and they're capable. I find they're capable of doing that, but they go to a house party and they just can't.
You just said the word house party and I was like, do I know everyone there? Will it end at an appropriate time? are there enough snacks for me to stay entertained and fed? Those are my, and is there a pet? These are my three things. So basically my version of a house party is a get together with close friends.
Yeah. So you and 6 people. That's a house party.
That's it. And probably a cat.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
See, I just want people, a ton of people there that I don't know. I want to meet new people. I want to converse and learn about people and maybe have a conversation with somebody I do know, but on another level, and sit down in a corner with some drinks and snacks and people buzzing around and have that conversation that, takes me deeper, into someone else's life and learn about people. And that drives me, and that powers that's what charges my batteries. For an introvert, that is the most draining thing.
I feel like I could find a happy medium, right? I find a comfy chair. My favorite spot in anyone's living room is if they have a sectional and I get the corner, because then you can stretch out either way. My snacks, my beverage, and people come to me and we chat. I'm not going to ignore people, but I feel like you and I could find a centerpiece of like, okay, I'm ready. I'm armed with, I know I keep mentioning snacks, but I always just need something to occupy myself.
Like, instead of smoking, that's the new oral fixation is snacks.
100%. I would take snack breaks if, in the summer, I would stand opposite the smokers and just stand there and eat a bag of chips. That's not a terrible idea, actually.
I worked in the service industry for over 2 decades, and I have never smoked ever. Mm-hmm. So for me to walk in somewhere and just, at a new job or something, and if I'm stressed out, I don't get the breaks that the smokers get. And it drove me nuts for 20 years. And now there's countries that are like, well, we give people who don't smoke 2 or 3 extra weeks vacation because of the time they didn't waste, because they spent it working instead of outside smoking. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm not saying that every place should do that. I'm just saying there should be a conversation about it, because I on the surface, I think that's a great idea, but maybe I'm missing pieces. I just don't want to jump on the train right away. So that's my political answer.
When I was, I worked for Ipsos Reid. I think I was 16, and it's a survey. It's one of the companies you call people, one of the most known research companies, and you call people to do surveys. And I remember a friend and I, my first friends when I went there, we were the only 2 non-smokers in our group, and we would literally just stand outside with them and because why not? I know
I'm taking my break.
I'm taking my non-smoking break. That's it.
I've literally had bosses when I'm like, I'm going outside for 5 minutes, and they're like, why? And I'm like, because I just need 5 minutes. You let people go smoke.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you let people go outside and smoke and don't even question it. And they're like, yeah, but you don't smoke. I'm like, yeah. Why should they get more breaks than me because they're choosing to give themselves cancer? I don't understand.
You're so dramatic, but I understand what you're saying. Absolutely.
In the moment, you're just like, how is this a thing? Yeah. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just old and curmudgeonly now. That's just how it is.
We've all aged in the last 2 years. My cousin the other day said, she has 2 kids. She has multiple pets. She's been working from home on and off. And she said, when did we get so old? And she's, I'm 37, she's 35. And I was like, pretty sure the last 2 years have aged us drastically. She's like, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm at that age now where the pandemic made me grow more hair. Because I'm bald, but I have to shave it. But being at home, I'm just turning into this wolf man, and I'll buzz the head once every month now instead of every couple of days. Mm-hmm. And it's a big deal because as you age, you're like, oh, I'm going bald. So this is the problem. Now I'm I'm bald.
Yeah.
And this pandemic has made me grow terrible hair.
Yeah. And I'm full head of hair, but have grayed a little bit more. You can't fully see it yet, but there are the grays in there, but they're more silver, so I can deal with it for now.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. But working from home has been quite a challenge for a lot of people. A lot of people were working from home before this, and they're like, "Welcome to the party, pal."
Totally. Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are in a society. Is we're discovering that we don't have to make that commute to the office every day. Mm-hmm. Imagine the environmental impact of everybody just staying working from home.
I think that's what they focused on and really highlighted it, at least in the first year, over like March to March 2020 to 2021. And you saw those Photoshop pictures of the Venice Canal with the dolphins, and none of that was, in the end, we're all like, whoa, this is crazy for the environment because the internet. But realistically, it must have had a good impact. It must have.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of gas not being burnt.
Yeah, totally.
Because people are not commuting to work. There's like maybe a quarter of the cars on the road that there used to be. Rush hour traffic now is not a big deal.
Yeah, it's busier. It's busier than it was even a year ago. But it's I feel like it's just, I mentioned the word roller coaster earlier. It's like, it's just a roller coaster going out into traffic and just being like, what's going to happen? But we're getting through it. We're still kicking.
Yeah. The problem with the people that are out on the road is that they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah. That's what everybody says about everybody, though. Maybe someone thinks that about you.
I mean, it's probable. And every once in a while I'll make a mistake and I'm like, oh, I'm that guy. Yeah. Like I'm so sorry.
Yeah, totally.
Right? When people go by, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, but when I pass somebody who's just done some asshole-ish thing, they're just like, just no apology.
Yeah.
Didn't even know they did it. That's the kind of crap that I'm pissed off about. I totally recognize that I'm a human being and I make mistakes, but I will apologize for them. Hey, sorry, that's my bad. And when they walk, sorry, yeah, please don't kill me. It was my fault, my bad.
Canadians, right?
Well,
apologizing for apologizing.
I'm not sorry that I'm sorry. I'm just sorry.
Just sorry.
Just sorry.
Yeah.
I'm base level Canadian. Just sorry.
Not too much. Not over the top.
Yeah, I'm not that stereotype.
Fair.
But I'm sorry that I'm not that stereotype. Anyway.
Oh, God.
We all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So you do PR, you do some really cool stuff in that realm. You actually help me quite a bit with the WPG. For those that don't know, when you see Pamela Roz as the author on a post on the WPG.ca, this is the face.
I don't think there are any others in Winnipeg because, truthfully, and I have no shame in this, I've Googled myself to make sure, everything's on the
vanity searches. Yep.
And I don't think there were any others. It's usually like authors from other countries with the name Roz because that's, common enough. But that's me. It's true.
Who's the most famous Roz you know? Like character or whatever.
Well,
because when I hear the word Roz, the first thing I think is Night Court.
I think of Frasier.
Okay.
His producer, the Frasier Crane's radio producer. Right. I guess that's the one. I think there was a Roz in Meet the Parents, maybe, as well. But my grandma was Roz, too, Roslyn. So she's sort of the most famous one for me.
Fair. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. The most well-known.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, it's pretty uncommon, I think, generally, to be Roz.
I like that.
So, yeah. I mean, my last name, there's maybe 6 in each city possible. When you go to Halifax, it's that there's me, my sister, who is now married, and that's not even a thing anymore. So it's me, my dad, and end of list.
That's it. That's you're holding it down.
Remember phone books? When you look yourself up in the phone book to see how many other, Smith, there's like 17 pages, and Lardner, there's like 2 entries.
Yeah. That's good, though. You're unique.
Well, yeah, for good or for worse. But I like the stuff you're doing. And let's talk about the WPG for a second, because one of the really cool things that you are doing is the Local Maker Spotlights, which is featuring some local makers, not local businesses so much, as these are people making stuff out of their garages for the most part, or, in their sewing room, or, their arts room, or maybe even in their living room, depending on the size of their house. So these are people that are just doing really cool stuff, crafts, usually crafty, artsy kind of stuff. But I'll let you tell more of the story. You've been talking to these people and conversing back and forth. What are some of the more unique things that you've seen doing the local maker spotlights right here in Winnipeg?
I mean, I've been going to, I became interested in makers long ago, going to all of the markets, the Christmas markets mainly. My sister and I would go to all of them and get tons of Christmas presents from the local crafters and food companies, beverage companies, you name it. And it's just continued to grow. So there's so many. I honestly can't, I don't want to pick favorites. I know that's silly, but if you see the cow right there, that's White House. Her name is White House Prince, White House Art, something along those lines. I'm so sorry, I don't know the correct name, but she does some of the best animal watercolors. I'm going to say in the province, and she's been around a really long time. If you go to any of the markets, then you'll find her there. There's a lot of nostalgia-based stuff too. There's, anything, this is not shocking, anything Winnipeg or 90s based, I love. There are beautiful bath and body products, such creative jewelry. Literally in the local maker spotlight, I think I've touched on every single, I don't know if industry is the word, or area of interest. And then I try and spread them out. So, you'll never see two jewelry makers back to back. You'll never see two candle companies back to back. And, White House started long ago. Coal and Canary for candles started long ago. And those were two of the first ones I really followed. And it's just kind of grown from there. And some of them have grown into large businesses. I follow, I remember going to the Locals, which this sweatshirt is from. It's it's inspired by Fresh Prince. So the Locals started on Sherbrooke. And I remember my old co-host and I went on the first day they opened, and it's all Manitoba made, beautiful, everything. They have now moved to a warehouse on Logan. They have, and they also have a website, the Locals Winnipeg, and it's all tons of the people I've interviewed, and then more that I hope to in the future, because there is so much to highlight. And it is just, trendy isn't the right word, but it is becoming trendier to shop local, especially over the last 2 years. There's been ad campaigns. There's been just so much encouragement to shop more local, because people can make anything. Like an example is the maker that a lot of the makers that I come out with the interviews last week was Luna Juna Candles, and she started because she's sensitive to scents. And she, instead of buying from far away, she's like, I'll just make them myself. So a lot of them, it was filling a need for themselves, having a friend or family member notice, and then turning it into a business and making it their full-time job. It's super inspiring. Every week I'm like, maybe I could do this. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep writing about them for now.
which can be a business.
Exactly.
So, there's some really cool stuff on the site. And if you go to, it's the wpg.ca, you can head over there. This is what it looks like. Look at that. Wow. The wpg.ca. And we have, there's that you can see on the screen there for those that are listening to the audio version. There's the story about a local artist who wrote a children's book. There's local maker spotlights. There's episodes of the Winterpeg Report. There's a story about how Manitoba opened up fishing this weekend to people without a license, and blah 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 blah. We're just trying to keep things local, keep things interesting, and eventually, when we can have events come back on a larger scale, the event listings is going to be that was really the whole point of the WPG in the beginning, was some event aggregator, all the events with ticket purchasing capabilities and blah, blah, blah. And then the world ended. So that was put on hold.
It's about pivoting. There's that word. It's just reimagining, I guess is a better word for the WPG, is reimagining the content, reimagining what you can fill the page with, because you're not going to shut it down because the event shut down. But you're right. When things start coming back, it will be, we'll have the events, we'll have the local maker spotlight. You'll continue this podcast. You do music reviews as well, book reviews. It's such a wide variety, and it's so Manitoba focused. And it's, I'm proud to do the spotlight, because like I said, everybody's different. Everybody's just doing their thing. A lot of the stories have to do with, I said a need that someone had, but a lot of it is born out of the pandemic because they lost their job or they became part-time or they just needed something to brighten their day. They started drawing or making candles or making jewelry. My cousin, Freckled Pearl, you can find her on Instagram. She started making jewelry. Amazing, amazing earrings that she's always been artistic, but I'm just so proud of her because she took something that she needed to cope with everything and she made it into this business. She has an Etsy, she has socials, she's been at markets, and to witness that from even a more personal standpoint and see my cousin doing something like that, it's incredible that literally anyone, you can just do it. You have an idea, just teach yourself. I know it sounds easier said than done if you have kids and this and that, but she has 2 kids. She has 8 pets. She has a husband and a job, So I know.
Whoa.
A husband and a job.
No. Forget that part. Did you say 8 pets?
Yeah.
Just gloss right over that. Just cruise by.
She used to work for Darcy's Ark, so it's more or less like foster fails and just it's the best. Going over there is the best because you just sit on the couch and you just like lay back and there's cute kids and baby cats, not baby cats, but all cats are babies.
Kittens, yeah.
Yeah, there's cats. She has 3 dogs, and I believe 5 or 6. I don't remember how many cats, not more than that, but one of them happens to be the mom of my cat. And my cat was actually, this is such off topic, my cat was born under her bed like 9.5 years ago. He was the only cat in the litter. And I took him and she kept the mom. It's just a family affair.
I'm still stuck on 8 pets. That's a lot of pets.
I mean, but here's the thing is like they have tons of space and
well, that's
and
good.
She'd never go over the legal amount of pets.
There's a legal amount of.
I think
I don't even want to know what the legal amount is. I don't. I just don't want to know.
I could totally be misspeaking and miscounting and totally overestimating here. Honestly, she actually has 2 dogs. That's it.
Yeah, she got 2 dogs and like a couple of stuffed animals. Yeah,
anyway, that's it. It's all an illusion at this point.
I mean, I have a lot of animals. I feel in my house we have 2 fish. We have 2 beta fish. I have 2 kids, so each kid has a beta fish. My fiance now. I keep saying girlfriend, but I asked her a question and she agreed. So we have an understanding now.
Just a question in general.
So now I have to call her a new word. There's a new word I have to get used to. So fiance. And she has a cat whom I may or may not be a big fan of. And we have together adopted a dog.
Oh.
And so Moffat is a year and... How old are you? He doesn't know. Like a year and 9-10 months. We're working on 2 years. Coming up on 2 years. May 1st will be 2 years. You do the math. I'm not doing it right now. I'm having a brain day. I just can't. So I'm usually very good at math, and I don't want to. So we adopted him. He was a rescue from Nunavut, and the day after my birthday in 2021, we adopted him. And he's mostly husky with a little bit of German Shepherd in him and possibly some other stuff. We're not really, we're not those people that like DNA test our dogs. We just didn't do that. That's whatever. So we say mostly husky.
Oh,
and yeah, he loves the snow. He'll run around in the snow for 4 hours if you let him. And I mean, the extreme cold, he's not so much a fan of.
No, it's incredible when people post videos of their dogs like still loving life outside and they're just standing there waiting for them to pee.
Yeah. They say, go pay. And they're just like, let's play. No.
Totally.
Yeah. That's this guy. When you get him outside and you're outside with him, he's all about, let's play. Like, no, do the thing.
Do the thing and then let's go inside.
Yeah. Do you see how many layers I have on? So, yeah, I understand the affinity for pets and stuff, but I thought our house had a lot.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's like cats are cats, though. It's right, and it's the right environment. They're like, my cat's a diva because I've created a monster that I feed whenever, and he sleeps whenever and wakes me up whenever. But when cats have another cat or a couple other cats, it's like they kind of just chill and hang out and get fed and whatever. They get like ridiculous amounts of love, especially since she's been working from home on and off. It's like it's a dream. I mean, it sounds like a dream to me because I'm not there with all the pets and kids, but it's in theory.
I saw a meme that was, I would go back to work in the office, but I don't want to disappoint my dog.
Exactly.
Because the dog is just like, he's just chilling here. I'm home every day, all day. Yeah. And we hang out all day, and I pet him whenever he walks up to me, and, he'll just chill here underneath my seat. I can't get him on camera because he's too far away, and I don't want to make him come over here because it just seems mean to make him get up to dance, monkey, So yeah. You do you, bro. Just chill. Just chill. Good boy. He just straight up didn't move. Perfect. Yeah. He's into it. But anyway, back to you because you're the guest, and that's why
I can talk about dogs all day long.
And that might be what it devolves into. But during a pandemic, that's what are we going to talk about? Well, how many pets do you have?
Exactly.
I say that I have 6 pets, and the kids don't like that joke, but it's shocking. But you let's talk about your radio stuff for a second, because you also you were on QX 104 for a while. I'll let you give us your CV.
Oh boy. Okay. I mean, I'll keep it in a nutshell because it's just a lot over the years. But I started after Creecom at Red River here. I moved to Victoria, BC, which still holds a piece of my heart to this day. And I left like 13 years ago. But I started at the Q in Victoria, which was a rock station, which was, it was so interesting to start there. Say interesting now, it was terrifying at 20, 21, 22, because I didn't know a lot about music. I was moving to an island away from home, out of my parents' house. And I was homesick a lot of the time, but it's the classic, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. But, I moved home, was homesick for Victoria to this day, but life is interesting because I came home and said I'm going to do 2 years here and then I'm going to go again. My main goal forever and ever was Toronto. My sister lived there for a long time. I loved much music, radio in Toronto, but as the years went on, Winnipeg just kept me here for so many reasons. So after Victoria, I was on Curve 94.3. Then it was Virgin Radio, and then QX, and then Hot 100.5, and then QX. Yeah, I think that's the order. And there were layoffs in there, and I left a couple and then came back to one, and that's really in a nutshell because like I said earlier, radio can be a roller coaster and an adventure, and sometimes you just don't align with the station anymore, or it's just not working anymore. There's so many ways of me to word it, and it really always sucks in the moment, but it always brings you back to, if this last layoff didn't happen for me, then I probably wouldn't be where I am with PR now and marketing and working with, I mentioned Elroy Consulting, because, the day that I got laid off from this last one, I immediately thought, okay, I got to make a new demo. I have to email this program director, this one, and contact this announcer and see if there's any openings and this and that. And I very quickly thought, no, I'm going to focus on my PR work. I'm going to focus on marketing. I'm going to learn more of these skills because I truly do love it. My pride in Manitoba is fed because I get to promote companies and artists, and at the same time, I do a theater show on CJNU, which is the Nostalgia Station, 93.7. So that's thrown in there once a week with a friend of mine, Chris Reed, called In the Spotlight on Monday afternoons, and we combine theater, which we both love, and radio, which we've both done. So it's a chance to interview local theater performers, directors, artistic directors, stage managers, people that are from here but now working in New York or working in England or working wherever. So that's been an opportunity I wouldn't have had if I hadn't, strayed further from commercial radio. Forced to in the beginning, in July of last year. And then, I'm of the age now where the layoffs still really suck and take it personally. And you think, where should I go next? But then it's the classic, everything happens for a reason. I'm such a cliche, but it's true. You still are able to feed other passions. You're able to fill your cup with other things that maybe you wouldn't have been able to. And I feel lucky. God, I'm a walking cliche today, but I feel lucky to be doing the PR stuff. And that is not to count radio out full time ever again, because it is, 15 years of your life. I suppose I could hang up my microphone, but I'm not at the point where I will say those words because I'm 37 and anything can happen. With announcers in the city and different program directors and who knows. And Winnipeg's where I'm at now, and my husband and I have nieces and nephews here, so there's not a big plan to leave. But if, say, in 10 years, I don't know, I'm looking too far into the future, but you kind of have to, right? I'm thinking maybe I'll end up back in Victoria. That would be my ultimate. I love it there so much, and who knows if that could happen someday. But
also, the air doesn't hurt your face as much in Victoria.
Really, ever. I mean, it's been quite the year for them for winter this year, but I would still.
They've got their own problems. Sure.
I wouldn't even wear a scarf, even if it was snowy. So, yeah, I mean, I said in a nutshell, but that's radio.
And you said, sorry, was that CJNU 95.7?
93.7, yeah. So we do, in the Spotlight, Mondays at 12:30 p.m. And every Monday we interview a different local artist. We are interviewing the PTE artistic director coming up on Monday to talk about all their virtual offerings. And it's just such a good way to, like I said, combine radio and theater, which Chris and I both love, and then also give the exposure to these theaters that are doing things right now, that the exposure that they need, because it still seems like, because there are still cancellations and the like, seems like there's not a lot going on, but there is. The arts world is starting up again, like we said, and this radio show is our opportunity to just give that push. It might be a small push, but it's a push nonetheless, and I'm grateful to be able to do that into a microphone at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're very, as people are aware by listening and by watching this, if you're watching it on YouTube or wherever you're, partaking in this particular episode, she's very well spoken. No, she's better spoken, right? She's well spoken.
I feel like I'm just this because I haven't had the chance. You and I have spoken over the last 2 years multiple times, right? And there's specific people in my life that I talk to regularly, but I appreciate that because I feel like I'm so rarely the interviewee that when I get the chance to talk about things I love and I'm passionate about, I feel like I'm just like, that's me. That's me.
There's a certain level of like, where do I go? What direction am I moving?
Totally.
I love this and I love this and I love this and I like potatoes.
I don't take a breath. That's what my mom always said. I have to slow down. She always said that. That's why I'm surprised I've worked in radio because, everything changes when you turn the microphone on. It's just a mindset, right? To slow down, to enunciate, not to swear, to smile. Those are like 4 of the main tips I can give.
See, here's the thing. I talk right fast.
Uh-huh.
I curse like a sailor.
Yeah.
And my parents tell me to stop doing both, and I ignore the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And here we are. I'm doing my own thing.
This is a different world.
It's true. And that's why I love the internet and the ability to control my own destiny. I have the advantage of being able to run the WPG, so I say whether or not I get to swear or not. And I fucking wanna. So when you go to the WPG's Twitch page, it has a mature warning on it, and when you go to my personal Twitch page, there's a mature warning on it, and it isn't because there's nudity; it's because I have a potty mouth.
I wouldn't even know how to go to your Twitch page, to be honest. So I'll just stick with the website in your podcast.
Their internets, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, Twitch.
Those intertubes, I'll tell you. So
the swearing thing's interesting, right? Because I'm a human, I do it in life, but I still. And this is like not a knock to anyone. You swears, I will swear in conversation, but I think it's just ingrained in me. And because, you have kids and whatever, you might swear in front of them and that's whatever. I've just, for some reason, my nephew was born when I was 14. And I think I've just always had a nephew and nieces and it's just ingrained in me not to swear in front of them. So if my husband does by accident or my dad does or whatever, I just feel horrified because, it's just ingrained in me. And then, my niece and nephews on my husband's side one of them is 3 now. So he's starting to repeat a lot of stuff. So now if I swear, where before you wouldn't really be as worried because they were babies. But, oh no, sorry, he's 2, but he's way beyond that. He repeats and he would repeat. Both my niece and nephew would repeat. So, yeah.
Do you have children or parrots? Because
totally. Yeah, it's just a thing. I think radio has, when I'm in front of a microphone or around a child, it tends to kind of take a back seat.
And see,
not to make myself sound so proper, but it's just a thing.
My relationship with swearing is different. My dad was in the Navy, and when you say curse like a sailor, that saying exists for a reason. And he never really swore in the house.
Yeah.
And so one day he played hockey in the intersection league, which is this ship versus this ship and whatever. So the military has a whole sports league, no matter what sport you want to play. So he played hockey, and I would go to some of the games, and when you'd go, I'd sit in the locker room and wait around and then go out and sit sort of behind the bench and watch my dad play.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first time I went, I think I was in shock for a week because I walked in there and they used the F word for punctuation. They used it for adjectives and for verbs and for just every single third word was some sort of swear word. And it was such a shock to me. And I don't remember how old, I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. And I just remember being blown away by the raw amount of swear words coming out of this small group's mouth. And I don't want that shock for my kids. I don't want that trauma. So I just swear in front of them casually, and they know what the words are. They know that I say them, and they'll, okay, you shouldn't say that. You're right. I shouldn't say that. But they hear it enough that I want it normalized. So it isn't this thing where when they get older, it's now I can swear.
Yeah, totally.
I want them to know that swearing has a place.
Yeah.
Right? If I fall down, I have possibly broken ribs right now. And when that happened, I did a bunch of cursing. I just did.
I mean, I would be surprised if you didn't.
And so that's a thing. And they've proven through studies that people who swear more feel less pain, believe it or not. That's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
People anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole study, but the whole point was I don't mind swearing I try not to swear too much. And I've changed certain sayings. Instead of saying get your shit together, because you can't say that to a kid, you say get your poop in a group. It's the same thing without the cursing.
Someone said that to me as an adult.
Right? Get your poop in a group. It's
really good.
Get your shit together.
Yeah.
But without swearing at a child. I never swear at my children, and I think that's a big difference. When do you swear in front of your kids? Yes, but do you swear at your kids?
No.
No.
Yeah.
When they're upset, the swear words go away, and or like if they do something and you're upset with what they're doing, swearing at them is unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And other people will have different opinions.
For the most part, makes them feel worse.
Right. And it's going to make them want to use those words to hurt other people.
Yeah. It's a mirror effect. Totally. All learned behavior. I mean, that said, it's like my parents did swear in front of us too, but I was too much of a goody-goody in general growing up, and I don't think I swore in front of my parents until I was like 18. I was like, now I can. I'm an adult. But I think it was just a subconscious thing. I don't know what it was. Yeah, it's just I wasn't too wild as a teenager. I wasn't wild enough, I say now, as a 37-year-old. It's like I didn't live my life enough and, get crazy. But
the first time I swore in front of my mom, I think I was 17. And I can still remember the look on her face. Like she was shocked and appalled, but didn't know how to react.
Totally.
She just sat there.
Yeah. And that's like at 17 too. So, I mean, imagine if you had sworn as a kid.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because I knew all about swearing. I learned it all. Right? I knew what it was going on. And I swore with my friends and... in just casual conversation, you drop in the old F-bomb. It's not like today where kids nowadays, and I there's a swearing warning coming because I'm about to put together a sentence a literal sentence that I heard, and I just thought, like, this. I heard this kid, and he was all upset about something. He goes, this fucking guy wouldn't give me my fucking thing, fuck. And I'm like, you threw F in there twice, and then... the period of the sentence was also fuck.
Yeah, I hear that on the bus. It's just it's almost like they don't know they're doing it, to be honest. That's how I feel. It's just the way that it flows out, and I said, I was too much of a goody two shoes growing up, but if I'm on the bus and I hear someone say that, I'm like, oh, especially again if there's kids on the bus, not even kids I know.
Yeah, because there's some people that are just like, no matter where you go, you're just everyone's parent.
Yes. This guy.
So I recently went to the roller rink.
Yeah.
Wheelie's roller rink.
Amazing.
It was an experience. I'd never been.
Oh.
But it was for a birthday party for a 10-year-old, and my 9-year-old daughter was one of the invitees, and we went, and we get there, and like every kid there that was part of this party, I tied their
That's
I
cute.
tied their laces because they couldn't, and like when I first got there and the kids were sort of getting sorted out, the mothers had come and dropped them off and just left to go get stuff for the party and then came back. But so I was the only adult that was still in the building. And they just kept coming and like, I can't get my thing at my blue. So I had to tie everybody's skates, and then off they went. And
you're like the bearded papa. Oh,
it's just this default. I don't know what happens, but when my youngest, she's 7 now, but when she was five, maybe 4, I took her to soccer, Timbit soccer, and showed up, and nobody knew what was going on, and they're just like, here's a ball and 2 nets, and
good luck.
They'd go. Yeah, but there wasn't anybody in charge.
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there waiting for somebody to do stuff, and I was like, okay, well, maybe we'll just start then. So I'm like, you're in that color, you go over there. You're in that color, you go over there. Here's the ball. Now you're kicking this direction. You guys, you want to go that way? Aww. Go. Like, and all of a sudden I'm coaching 2 teams of kids, and I didn't know that was a thing. I just showed up, and that was a thing.
Yeah.
So why? I didn't sign up for this. Who's supposed to be in charge here?
So you're living it.
Hashtag dad life. And I got the dad bod to prove it. So
yes.
Hashtag normalize
pandemic. Thanks for the dad and mom bods. Is a mom bod a thing? Because,
I'm sure it is. I was working on my dad bod prior to the pandemic. Let's be real. But yeah, I was in real good shape less than a decade ago. And that's gone. That's gone. I'm just going to blame it all on the pandemic, even though I gave it a head start. So let's give it.
Say that out loud, though. You can say, I blame it on the pandemic. Hard stop. Full stop. Period.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah. Anyway, there's you do other stuff. It isn't, you do the radio thing, you do the PR thing, you do the WPG thing with the local makers. And what else do you do?
I write for Canadian Beats, which is,
right.
I think she's based on the East Coast, but it's writers across Canada. And so I interview Canadian artists like once a week, 5 questions, and just to kind of get to know them. And my most recent one was Alessia Cara, who's, a lot of them are brand new artists. Some of them are, I did Stereos a little while ago, and then Alessia Cara, who's has a new project now. And it's just like a super good way for me to still dip my toes in music and get to know some new or experienced Canadian artists. And then I do movie and television background work, which, it's slowed down a little bit because it's minus 10,000 outside, and, you can't really conveniently film outside. But I was lucky enough to do a couple Hallmark things last year. The Porter, which just started on the CBC, which is incredible. It's a new series, which you need to check it out. CBC and CBC Gem.
I have a couple of friends that are in that. So
it was such a cool experience. The story is, I didn't take Canadian history in school, nor have I studied it on my own. But this is such a incredible piece of history that they are telling the story of, and it's unlike anything that has been on TV. And to be even a small part of that, I was a train passenger, so you'll see me, if you see me in I'm in a green hat, that's my key to keep an eye out for. Old Greenie, I ended up calling my costume, because it's most background work, you bring your own clothes. Because this was such a period piece, they gave us costumes, and so they dry clean them for you every so often, which was a treat because it was multiple days. But that was probably one of the coolest experiences, because it was such an important story they were telling, and there were so many extras, and it was prime in the pandemic. It was June to September last year, so they did everything safely. It's incredible that the film and TV productions have been able to keep going as strong as they have, because they have such strict protocols in place, because people are traveling in. Because, I speak so highly of theater, and that is one of my first loves in life. And then the more I do this background work, and, hopefully eventually I'll get to do, a line here, a line there, one can hope. But even doing the background work, it's such a cool operation. With the Porter, all the Hallmark films that come here, the Lifetime movies, there's an APTN series that's coming up. It starts filming in the spring. And the cool part is, I've been acting on and off for a long time in theater, but even if someone isn't an actor, has never been on stage or anything, a lot of the time for background work, it can be anyone. They're always looking for people of different shapes and sizes and ages and heights and weights, and it's often quite specific. They'll put out calls for, they put out a call for a cop that has this very specific look, because they have to fit into this costume. But a lot of the time, including on the Porter, because they needed so many, they put a call out. You submit your info, your photos, your measurements, your availability, and then perhaps get hired and perhaps not. It's one of those things that sometimes the director has direct say in the look. Sometimes it's the background casting company that chooses in specific. But I encourage people who want to step outside a comfort zone, because even though it is just in the background, the more you watch the background of TV and film, the more important you realize it is, because otherwise it would just be like 2 actors or 3 actors with a blank background. So you definitely play an important role. And once you're in the middle of you see the cameras, you see the lights, you see the actors, some, big names that do come to Manitoba, you will want to do it again. So, even if someone's like, I can never do that, I'm not good enough, it's possible. I'm telling you this, Mark, it is possible for you to become a movie star.
That's crazy.
I mean, you have a very prominent beard. If they were looking for like specifically bearded husky dad bods, which they have, not in those words.
I have a husky.
You have a husky and a dad bod.
I'm in the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And quick last question, because we're running very short on time here. What was there? You were paid for that, I'm assuming, the background work.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It is
That's
cool.
so
And
cool.
it's you know, and it's not my focus as a full-time job. I know a lot of actors, like I've said, theater actors have moved on to film and TV and have done very well throughout the last 2 years, and some have even before that. But it's a good way to make a little bit of money. My dad did it a couple times in the summer. He had never done it before, and they say it's the ultimate hurry up and wait. You could be sitting there for hours and then be used for half an hour, or you could be used the whole time. So
I've played that game where you sit in a room for 4 hours, and then they pull you out. And I was in a period piece too for a couple of them. This is back in Halifax, but I was in this one movie called Sea Wolf, and Nev Campbell was in it, and it was a whole thing. But I was in this period piece, and I was a sailor, and I'm this scruff looking dude, and I'm all dirty and the whole thing, you know, and I'm supposed to be carrying this pack and just sitting there smoking these fake cigarettes.
Oh yeah, those were all over the Porter.
Oh yeah, but like the scene where we shot it, we had to do it. We were doing it for like an hour and a half. I smoked so many fake cigarettes.
They're like herbal, right? So there's no taste, but you're still getting it in your body, right?
A little bit. Like I tried to bring it into my mouth and pretend, and then you let it out, whatever. But it was a lot, and I was choking up for like a week after that. But it was all of a sudden it's like, hey, we need you now. When we're like half of us are like asleep on this,
totally,
in this old school that they're using as their set. Yeah. It was quite the experience. So I know exactly what you're saying. It's
and
hurry up and wait.
The more you do it, you learn, like, I know exactly what I need to bring to set now. I bring a book. I make sure I have my phone charger. Sometimes I bring my laptop if, I think there'll be a little bit of time to work. They don't recommend bringing a lot of valuables, but if I know, it's often, all your stuff is often watched. Nonetheless, you kind of learn what to bring. I bring the snacks because, I mentioned snacks earlier. It's kind of my go-to, but there is craft services. And I can't say enough about the film and TV industry, because even watching The Porter and spotting myself, I was nerdily excited and shouting at the TV and filmed it.
It's me!
It is. I filmed it, and I sent it to one of my best friends, and I sent it to my sisters, and I sent it to my dad. And I just, it's one of those things where, like, if you're watching a movie and you spot something from Winnipeg, you're like, hey, but it's me. And I'm going, hey. And my husband's like, finally really understanding what I do on set. He knows I go for a long period of time, but then actually watching the final result with him is cool for him to be like, okay, cool. Okay, you did it. It was worth it. Totally.
Yeah. And I have a couple of friends that were in it, so I'm really looking forward to watching it. Yeah. I haven't yet. No spoilers. And I'm very excited. Yeah. But we've run out of time. So before we go, I just want to remind everyone, follow us on those social medias, the WPG Magazine on all of them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, whatever. All of them the same, the WPG Magazine. Get in touch with us on the WPG Talk line. You can call or text 431-800-4555. Please don't make fun of my 431 area code. It was what they had. So you can also reach us by email, podcasts@thewpg.ca. And again, if you're looking to advertise on any of the WPGA's or the WPG.ca's properties, then give us a call, 431-489-2401, or email ads@thewpg.ca. So I want to thank Pamela Roz so much for being here. You were wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting me go on my tangents about all the things.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here talking to interesting people from Winnipeg. And again, if you think that there's somebody that should be a guest on the show, or you want to be a guest on the show, email podcasts@thewpg.ca. And we would love to entertain the thought. Interesting people. We have a really interesting person coming up next week. She's an author, very, very young author, comparatively speaking, to author standards. And very excited about her. She's right here in Winnipeg, and she wrote a series of books. I ran into her at Winnipeg Comic Con of all places. So again, really interesting people, of which you are certainly one, Miss Pamela Roz.
Oh, thanks.
So thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you all next time right here on the Winterpeg Report.